Dissension MMA is brought to you by BetDSI, the #1 site for betting on sports. Use promo code Dissension when you sign up at dissensionmma.com. And Apocalypse Syndicate for all your customized t-shirts and graphic designs. Welcome back, fight fans, to more Dissension, the MMA show for diehard fans, and not for those who think that submissions are underwater. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Fight Freak Poli, the man who thinks MMA stands for the Massachusetts Motorcycle Association. Yep, that's a real thing. In this episode, I give you my breakdown and predictions of UFC on Fox 9, because I have way too much time on my hands. That's 11 fights to predict, so let's get to them. Darren Uyenoyama is taking on Alptekin Ozkilic. And seeing he's making his UFC debut, if I pronounce his name wrong, I get a pass. Uyenoyama used to be on the UFC's list for top 10 flyweights, because he beat Phil Harris. What next? Is he going to get his black belt for submitting Pat Barry? Many people predicted that Phil Harris would actually win that fight because, let's face it, Uyenoyama doesn't have the best striking, an area of the game where I think the newcomer will have a significant advantage. And while there's a chance he could succumb to the ground game of Uyenoyama, I still got him for the win. Fight statistics aside, I just love how Uyenoyama looks exactly like comedian Brian Callen. Next fight is a rematch between Abel Trujillo and Roger Bowling. I thought Trujillo was winning the fight until the unfortunate incident that led to a no contest. Trujillo had Bowling against the ropes. That fight was going to be over in a matter of seconds. Other than trying to tie up Trujillo, I don't think Bowling had that many successful moments in their first fight. Okay, except maybe this one. Okay, and that one. And, okay, we get the point. Trujillo has had nothing but time to only improve his skills, especially his takedown defense. So I got Trujillo finishing Roger Bowling in similar fashion to their first fight. Only this time I pray to God it's legal. Our next matchup is between Sam Stout and Cody McKenzie. I'm actually more curious to see just how homeless Cody McKenzie is going to look for this fight. So, quite, or Duck Dynasty? And then there's my personal favorite, in which he got the idea from watching V for Vendetta. Though Stout's had some ups and downs, I'd still say he's having a little more success than Cody McKenzie. Despite McKenzie's reach advantage, Stout should dominate on the feet. James Krause was able to tap Stout with a guillotine choke. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the guillotine is something McKenzie knows a thing or two about. Stout should know if he keeps this fight standing, he can cruise to a decision win. So with that being said, I'm going with the Channing Tatum wannabe. We have a awesome flyweight match between Scott Jorgensen and Zach Makovsky. And I'm only slightly over-exaggerating. So there. Jorgensen's making his flyweight debut after being an elite bantamweight, while Makovsky's had the advantage of making that 125 cut a couple times already. Makovsky's a former champ and pretty well-rounded. He's not scared to go for submissions on the ground or go for crazy flashy strikes on the feet. The difference is coming down to Jorgensen's experience. He's faced some of the best like Eddie Weiland, Urijah Faber, Renan Barão, and Dominic Cruz. The only problem is he's never actually beaten any of them. Regardless, he's still one of the best fighters out there, and if he has a smart weight cut, he should win his flyweight debut. The hell, did he just eat a popsicle or something? We all know the story about Bobby Green's comeback/upset win over Jacob Volkman, and now he faces a fighter who had his own comeback/upset win when he fought Jim Miller. Not only did Pat Healy submit Jim Miller, but he put a beating on him before he did. Though Healy was dominated against Khabib Nurmagomedov, he was out-grappled for the most part. This is not an issue he's going to have with Bobby Green. Though Green will have the striking advantage, I doubt he'll be able to stuff the takedown attempts of Healy. Healy won't make the same mistakes that Volkman did in his fight with Green. He won't let him get the reversal, and he'll finish with a submission. Though I suppose this fight could end with Green kicking Healy in the junk. Classic striker versus grappler match with Danny Castillo taking on Edson Barboza. I've picked against Castillo in his fights with Anthony Njokuani, Paul Sass, and Tim Means. And as you can see, I was wrong all 3 times. Though I lucked out picking against him in his fight with Michael Johnson, he definitely won the first round. In fact, I think I had it scored 10-8. If there's a lesson to be learned in all this, I certainly haven't learned it because I'm not picking him in this fight either. Barboza's a better striker than his mentioned former opponents. In fact, he's the only fighter in the UFC to have 2 TKO wins via leg kick. And I'm sure we all remember the greatest knockout in UFC history. Yeah, that was Barboza too. I rest my case. Barboza all the way. The final prelim matchup sees Court McGee fighting Ryan LaFlare. I don't even know who to pick in this one. I gotta come up with something quick. Court McGee, of course, very well-rounded. Even in his welterweight debut, he put a beating on Josh Neer. Following that up with a win over dangerous striker Robert Whittaker. Ugh, that looks like it hurts. But LaFlare's looked impressive, literally at will taking down Santiago Ponzinibbio. Now combine that with surprising everyone with some impressive strikes. Seriously, there's no way you can make that look better. I take that back. Ultimately, I can see this fight going either way, but I'm giving it to Ryan LaFlare. Okay, just one more time. Kicking off the main card, we have Joe Lauzon taking on Mac Danzig. It seems to me that Joe Lauzon has had a combination of more success and stronger opponents, facing Anthony Pettis, Jamie Varner, and Michael Johnson. Jim Miller and Melvin Gillard are the only former opponents these two fighters have in common. And I think it goes without saying which fighter had a better performance over not one, but both of them. Oh, it's like he's begging his corner to throw in the towel. So yeah, I got J-Lo. J-Lo. A seemingly unnecessary fight in the featherweight division, with Nick Lentz getting a shot against Chad Mendes. Many people give Nick Lentz top 10 status because he outgrappled the one Brazilian on this planet who isn't an expert in Jiu-Jitsu, when he was arguably top 10 status. He edged out a decision win over Hakron Diaz, but against Chad Mendes you need to bring more to the table. He finished Darren Elkins, Clay Guida, and had everybody's favorite featherweight parallel to the ground. I'm actually kind of pissed off about that fight. Had Aldo not grabbed the fence, Mendes would have knocked him out by slamming him on his head. I haven't looked at Michael McDonald the same way ever since he destroyed Brad Pickett. Dominating 10-8 first round, and then finishes off his back with a triangle submission in the second. Beautiful. And don't forget his knockout power. That's a complete package. Not to mention McDonald had more successful moments in his fight against Renan Barão than Faber did. I don't see McDonald succumbing to any submission attempts from Faber, especially a rear naked choke. All signs point to Michael McDonald in this one. Our main event is a rematch between Mighty Mouse and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Their first fight saw both fighters going blow for blow in a back and forth fight. It was a fight so entertaining I'm getting excited just looking at the pictures. Both fighters had their moments, but in the end it was the takedowns of Demetrious Johnson that gave him the belt. And as much as I'd like to see Joseph Benavidez win that rematch, I'm not sure if it's going to happen. Johnson is extremely fast and you can't hit what you can't catch. This fight could be even closer than the original, but I still got to go with Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson to retain the belt. Here's a recap of my full card predictions. Contact me through any one of these methods and help support the show by ordering your Dissension MMA t-shirts that'll make you look cooler than everyone else. As always, thanks to my sponsors, BetDSI and Apocalypse Syndicate. I'm your host, Ryan Fight Freak Poli. We'll see you next time.